The WYCD Wicked, that stands for what you can do. Well, as long as I'm having these internet problems, I may as well just release what I want to talk about, and I'm gonna have to rely on y'all in the Wicked house. That's the comments section to provide that back and forth that I think is frankly necessary for the show that I want to make, and I think y'all enjoy. So I'll be reading those. Let me know what you think. Here's the deal. Texas is up for grabs in 2024. It's a jump ball. That doesn't mean that ball's not going to get tossed high, and we're not jumping against maybe not LeBron, but let's say Scottie Pippen. We got a tough fight ahead of us, but that doesn't mean it's not winnable either. Texas is very much up for grabs in 2024. More importantly, making Republicans fight hard to keep a state they need is going to be a huge benefit to every other race that needs to get run around this country in 2024. To clarify where I stand, we cannot have Republicans in control of very much and survive. That's my opinion. And I'm also of the belief that most plans for fixing the United States and frankly the world with the kind of expedience we need, those plans begin. They don't end, but they begin with getting the House, Senate, and White House in 2024. Let's have a look at somebody breaking down the numbers of exactly why Texas is winnable. It's a wonderful channel. They are basically a pure information channel. Very little opinion, and when they give their opinion, it is only as an avid watcher of polls. So let's have a look at Let's Talk Politics.
Back to today's video. Today is Sunday, August 27th, 2023, and today we are going to be talking about...
If you can't tell, I've wanted to talk about this for a little bit. So you'll have to forgive me. But yeah, I've wanted to discuss this with y'all for a little bit.
The RNC making an unorthodox move to announce their 2028 convention to be held in Houston, Texas, a state.
And as interesting as that is, and I'm going to let him go uninterrupted for quite a while here, but as interesting as that is, do know you and I are talking about 2024. But still, this information about the decision for 2028 is extraordinarily relevant to the next year of our lives. So here it is.
That the Republican Party for a long period of time has denied the existence of a swing state capacity within the Lone Star State, a state that the Democratic Party has been vying for decades since the last time they won it in 1976. The state itself has been long foreseen as a ruby red solid GOP state. But over the past couple of years, Texas has proven that in numerous statewide elections and presidential elections that there is the possibility that it is a swing state. In fact, I would personally declare it as a swing state in the 2024 election. Now, the RNC making this move 5 years in advance really for one shows a bit of uncertainty around the 2024 election. Rarely do you ever have the major political committees announcing this convention 5 years in advance. Generally speaking, the average is 1 to 2 years. The Democratic Party announced their location for the DNC with 1 to 2 years in advance. You see that the RNC announced that they would be hosting their convention in 2024 and the location in 1 to 2 years in advance. I mean, generally speaking, it is very, very unconventional for a major political committee to announce their 2028 convention. You know, this is so far in the future, but I think it shows an immediate shift of attention towards the state of Texas that they are worried about its competitive nature in future elections. You never really see the DNC held in a solid blue state or a solid red state, except for in 2024, when, for a variety of reasons, Chicago, Illinois beat out venues, ones included in Texas, ones included in other parts of the Midwest, such as Detroit or Philadelphia, as it was in 2016, or Atlanta or Phoenix. Now, a lot of it did come down to capacity and what they were expecting for the convention, which is arguably fair, right? If they wanted to hold a convention that wasn't in Philadelphia, that could hold up to capacity in a major city and very, very, Midwestern, because it's very clear that the Biden campaign wants to focus on Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, it makes sense that they chose Chicago. But the only reason why I could imagine that the RNC is targeting Texas in 2028 is because they believe it will be competitive not only then, but also now. It's no secret that they are announcing that they are going to be investing millions of dollars into the Houston area in order to really platform this convention 5 years down the line. This happened ahead of 2024 because of slight concerns about its competitive nature this time around, but certainly to address concerns about it.
All right, I thought he was going to go into a little more detail. Let me just, about that one specific point, let me lend that for a second. Why? Why would the Republicans or the Democrats, why would a political party hold off on announcing where they are going, or even, forget announcing, even making the decision on where they are going to hold their political convention? Because they would like, up until the very last moment, everybody to think, maybe it'll be me. The reason they're doing it now, and this is what he is getting into, is because they are nervous about Texas. So they're willing to give up on a whole lot of states. I guess this is the part I want to draw your attention to. They're willing to give up on a whole lot of states, thinking, maybe it'll be me. Maybe we'll be the Goldilocks state that's chosen. Maybe we'll have the honor. Why? Why are they willing to give up on that? Do they not need that? Or do they really need Texas? Let's break it down.
In the future. Now, historically speaking, same state, a bump within a convention state is pretty minimal. You're talking in some cases less than 1 to 2 points. But in states like Texas, where we've had elections decided by 3 to 4 points, 5 to 6 points, every single vote matters. And while voters aren't explicitly voting on the reason for, I'm voting GOP because the GOP held the convention in Houston, it certainly does a good job at inspiring a base, driving up turnout, and convincing voters in a state where maybe they're able to be within well-visible distance of Republican strategy, of Republican events, and able to participate in some of the surrounding Republican events, Democratic events, whatever it might be. Point being, there is a negligible bump, but in some cases that can make all the difference, especially with the close and competitive elections from 2020, such as Georgia, that was decided by 0.2%, and Arizona, that was decided by 0.3%. Now, the state of Texas for a while was, in fact, a very solid red state. You can see that in 1976, it was the last time that a Democrat won it. Jimmy Carter defeated Gerald Ford in this state. It was 26 electoral votes at the time, and it was 51 to 48. Jimmy Carter won the state by just 3%. You fast forward to 1980. Ronald Reagan defeated Jimmy Carter in this state by 13.9%. Fast forward to 1984, Ronald Reagan wins it by 28 points. But then in 1988, it became competitive. In 1992, Bill Clinton came close because of Ross Perot. In 96 was the same story, also close, but still ultimately GOP. Then came 2000. The state, yes, had their governor on the ballot, but it went to George W. Bush by 21 percentage points. Then in 2004, went to George W. Bush by 23 percentage points. In 2008, went to John McCain by 12 percentage points. In 2012, went to Mitt Romney by 16%, and then it came crashing down. In 2016, for the first time since the 90s, Texas was within single digits. Coincidentally, it was Clinton to Clinton. Then in 2020, Joe Biden narrowed it down to 5.6% across the state, and on average, we've seen a trend from 2012 to 2016 to 2020 of a shift of 5.1%. Should this hold through in 2024, Texas should be decided by less than 1 point, which is why the RNC seems to be scrambling about the future of Texas because the Democratic Party has been spending, again, decades on this target within this state. We can see in 2018 it paid off and got them very, very close to winning in the Senate race in Texas. Ted Cruz won by just 2.6% in the 2018 midterm elections. And that was a warning sign. It really scared Republicans in this state to a point where they were worried about the future. They were raising.
Before he says it, what happens when Republicans are worried about their ability to get fairly elected in a state? Do you think that means they have a look at what the people of the state want and cater to that? Do you think that means that they double down on explaining what their party platform is, this party which doesn't have a platform? Or do they cheat? What do you think they did?
The alarm bell for the RNC for the Donald Trump campaign, and Donald Trump's campaign consistently wrote them off. And it wasn't just there. Also, in some major counties, for example, Dallas County. If we take a look at Texas in 2020, we can see, I'm not entirely sure where we can find the Dallas County GOP. I should be able to find it here, right here. Dallas, Texas, 31.7%. I'm sorry, by the way, if you're from Texas, I know you probably just got extremely upset with me. I don't know Texas geography as well as I should, but it's easy to point out when you're figuring out, okay, Dallas and a very large blue pocket here. But it's a 31.7% advantage for Joe Biden. In 2016, that was 26.1. In 2012, it was 15.5. So this county in specific has been driving up the Democratic Party's vote share in this state, driving up the electability for Democrats across the state of Texas, 15.5% to 26% to 31%. It was a very, very significant increase, and one that the county Republican Party refuses to recognize. They're saying, we're not in a swing state. We're not going blue. They're talking about this in the context of the 2020 election, and they were right. Texas did not go blue, but it's
Never mind. It's a denial of trends. Fair enough.
certainly was a swing state. In fact, the GOP might be appalled to realize that Texas was less red than Minnesota was blue. That Texas was less red than New Hampshire, Colorado, New Mexico, Virginia, Nebraska's 2nd District was blue. And that,
for context, Austin, Texas is kind of like Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm trying to think of other examples. It's in an area which is not necessary. I mean, all right, let's just keep it to Austin. There's a saying, keep Austin weird. Now, I stayed in Austin, Texas for a while. It's a liberal bastion. It is a thoroughly Democrat-leaning place. 1 in 30 residents of Texans, oh my God, residents of Texas, so let me try this again. 1 in 30 Texans are from Austin. They live in Austin. Now, also like Ann Arbor or Detroit or Chicago or Philadelphia or Seattle or Los Angeles, a hell of a lot of people work there but do not live there. They commute to work in Austin. Those people are not necessarily left-leaning, but they do interact with minorities more. They do interact with left-leaning people more. At the very least, they get to see that left-leaning people aren't trying to drink their blood. So, 1 in 30 Texans being from Austin is a distinct advantage. Now, in that map he gave, there was a lot of cherry red counties. Oh, yes. But the population, as always, the population of the blue counties is larger. And when you actually have to deal with people as part of your everyday life, it's harder to fall for the lies that demagogues tell about those people. It's hard to believe that your neighbor is secretly drinking adrenochrome in the basement of a police or in the basement of a pizza shop or whatever. If you've met your neighbor and they can't even handle 3 cans of beer, much less an experimental chemical. So there is more of a chance to win in Texas than people might be thinking.
Texas, in fact, voted to the left of battleground states such as Ohio, battleground states such as Iowa, states that Barack Obama won in the 2012 election. I tell you this to say, the RNC was deluded at this point in time, ignoring the reality, and Democrats were funneling tens of millions of dollars to set up the ground game and strategy to win in future elections. And based off where we are right now, Texas is absolutely in play. I think the GOP still has the upper hand in 2024, but come 2028, I do not have an answer. And I think the inability to recognize how competitive Texas has become will be to the GOP's detriment, because they could have combated the Democratic Party's advancements here. They could have seen it coming, because Democrats have been very, very clear. They want a big prize. And Texas absolutely is the biggest of them all. We can see that on the 2024 electoral map, there are a number of swing states. Every single state in yellow was decided by less than 5 points in the 2020 presidential election, and then I threw in Texas, obviously for the sake of this video. And with that, you will see that even if the GOP is able to run in with Florida, run in with North Carolina, win the Rust Belt, win Maine's 2nd District, win Georgia, if Texas goes blue, Democrats are 4 electoral votes away from the presidency. You take Hillary Clinton's map, and they're 5 electoral votes away from the president. In fact, actually, I'm wrong about that. You take Hillary Clinton's map, you flip Texas, the Democrats win. So I say this to say that the GOP, even if they took one of the most lackluster performances compared to expectations, that the Democratic Party has had, and you flip Texas, they lose the election. Even if they run it up in Arizona with a victory, Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, Ohio, Iowa, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, that is 9 swing states that the GOP could win, and Democrats still win with Texas. You keep all the Clinton states, again, a low bar to cross for Democrats, and Texas carries them over the finish line. And the problem here, too, for the GOP is that it doesn't just end with Texas. If Texas is going, so is Arizona. So is Georgia. Chances are, so is North Carolina. So is Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. If Texas is blue, a heck of a lot of other states are as well. And that's a problem for the mainstream GOP.
Only one note, and it's that very last part. I don't think that's true. If Texas is going, that does not mean... Let me put it like this. If Texas really is up for grabs, we can't then switch back and view it as the coal miner as opposed to the canary. It doesn't mean, if Texas goes, it does not mean that the rest of those states will as well. But that said, if Texas goes, Jesus God, it becomes a much, much easier race. It becomes a symbolic victory as well. It scares the hell out of people that ought to be scared because their political careers are ending. Good. Let's make it happen. And let's also understand that it's not just about winning that fight. It really isn't. This is a country-wide struggle for power. And if we are not harrying these rats in Texas, then we are allowing them to save their strength for other fights. Don't do that. Make them work for Texas. They've already shown their weakness by covering up. Let's work on that spot. Let's keep them nervous about that spot. Let's keep them funneling resources into protecting that sensitive spot. Let's use the resources we have. All right, if you have $5 extra, sure, give it to the Texas Democratic Party. That'll help, for sure. It will. $10 extra, $50 extra. Okay, if that's just lying around your house, first of all, good for you. Second of all, cool. But that's a one-time thing. And let's also take advantage of the fact that we have centrists often in Texas who are happy to take money from the devil. And let's volunteer. One thing those folks are lacking is people who believe that Texas is winnable and who act like it. Let's be that force for them. Here's what you can do. Sign up to help protect democracy through the fight in Texas. You can sign up at the Texas Democrats volunteer page. It's linked in the description. You can sign up to help protect democracy by being a poll watcher. You could be a hotline volunteer, just answer questions for folks. You'll have a call sheet. All you're going to be doing is looking up the information people ask for. Pretty straightforward. Or you can make calls to recruit and confirm other volunteers. That's simple. When I tell you that it becomes easier to win these fights by starting early, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. It's 2023. Probably not time to go knocking on doors, but it is time to gather our strength. So help the Texas Democratic Party gather strength. I think that is among the most useful things you can do if you are interested in Texas turning blue, but more importantly, the whole United States of America returning to sanity and joining the rest of the world in combating global warming and the other atrocities which have been creeping up on us. Good luck.